Hare Krishna. A very warm welcome to all the devotees to our program on Srimad Bhagavatam study. Today we are going to continue our discussion on chapter number 5, starting from verse 29 and continuing till the end, like till verse 40. The title of this chapter is Narad's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasdev. So last 2 Sundays we have been doing the first 2 portions of this chapter, and this is the last portion. Today we will complete the chapter today. This is our 16th class. So we will start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Rakesh Prabhu, whose turn today for Mangalacharan?
Just a minute, Prabhu.
Yeah, please, can you remind me? Sorry?
Anuradha Mataji, Prabhu.
Anuradha Mataji. Okay, Mataji, Anuradha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Hare
Yes, please do.
Yes.
Kindly do the Mangalacharan. Yeah. Am I sharing the screen or not?
No, you're not sharing, Prabhu.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
TV off பண்ணிக்கலாம் TV off பண்ணிக்கலாம்
Can you see the screen?
No, Prabhu. It's not coming.
Yes,
Yeah,
Prabhu.
yeah. Yes.
now
Now
yes,
you can
yes,
see.
sir. Now yes.
Oh, this is the same screen. I think Shloka memorization.
Sloka memorization.
Let me-
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
It's not coming.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Now we
Yes,
can
Yes.
yes, now.
Yes, Mataji,
Prabhu.
please recite.
Yes. Hare
Please.
Krishna, Prabhu. Om
Yes.
Ajnanatimirandhyasya Jnananjanashalakaya Sakshurunitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Gitapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sakratam Sahagana Raghunatvam Cha Tam Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha Shri Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
Yeah. This one also, Mataji.
Yes. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायश्च आदरेषु नित्यं भागवते सेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भावति नैष्टिके कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. हरे कृष्ण प्रभु.
Excellent, excellent, Mataji. Very nice. Okay,
Thank you, Prabhu.
very good. So, other devotees also who would like to recite these prayers in the beginning of the class may send their names to me in case they are interested, and their name will be included in the list, and accordingly you will be informed in the subsequent classes if your turn is there. Okay, now we will do the recap of the previous class, class number 15, and for that I would like to invite Rakesh Garg Prabhuji. Prabhuji, please help us. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, respected Prabhuji, and all esteemed devotees. First of all, I thank Anurag Prabhuji to give me an opportunity to write and present class summary. We are studying chapter 5 of Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the previous class, we studied verse number 15 to 28, where Narada Muni describes importance of glorifying the Lord, and also he narrates about his past life. In verse number 15, Narada condemns fruitive activities in Vedic literatures and advises Vyasa to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay. Then Narada advises Vyasa to show the ways of transcendental realization to those who are not so well situated due to material attachment through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Now Narada reveals that progress in bhakti is credited forever. Even if someone falls down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. There are examples of Bharat, Chitraketu, and Ajamila who were initially great devotees but fell down in between, but ultimately they succeeded. Then spiritually inclined people should only endeavor for the rarest, means bhakti, which is not obtainable by wandering from the topmost planet down to the lowest. Sense enjoyment comes automatically in course of time, just as we obtain miseries without desiring. The result is that the person who serves Mukunda will never in any condition returns to the material world, because remembering the embrace and taste of Lord's lotus feet, he will not desire to give up those feet again. Narada then instructs Vyasadeva to expand the synopsis which was given by him to Vyasadeva. The Lord is himself this cosmos, and yet he is aloof from it. He creates, maintains, and destroys it. Again, he instructs, describe Lord's pastimes more vividly. Since you have perfect vision, you know the Lord being the plenary portion and appeared for the well-being of the people. The conclusion of the learned, the purpose of austerity, Vedic study, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, knowledge, and charity culminates in glorifying the qualities of the Lord. Now Narada Muni reveals his previous life. He says that in the last millennium, he was the son of a maidservant, engaged in the service of Brahmanas, who were following the principles of Vedanta. He was engaged in their personal service. In the purport, Sri Prabhupada tells about the power of devotional service. While Narada Muni was the son of insignificant parentage and was not properly educated, still because his complete engagement in the service of the Lord, he became an immortal sage. From the personal example of Sri Narada Muni, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. Even the Lord himself says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service. One should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord, constantly engaged in his service, accept such a servant as the spiritual master, and engage himself in his service. By service of the bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal himself in proportion to the service rendered. Now, Narada further says that impartial Bhakti Vedantas, Tulya Darshana, bestowed their mercy, Kripa, on him. Thus, he developed sense control, Date, gave up childish sports, Adhrata Kridanka, became obedient, Anuvartini, and was not naughty or talkative, Alpbhashini. Once he took the remnants of their food, and by doing so, all his sins were at once eradicated. Apasta Kilbisha. He became purified in heart, Vishuddha Chetasas, and at that time, the very nature of transcendentalists became attractive, Ruchi Prajayate, to him. Narada says that in that association and by their mercy, he could hear Krishna Katha, and thus listening attentively, his taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. His attention on the Lord then became uninterrupted, askharitah mati. Thus he directly experienced his gross and subtle bodies created by the Lord's Maya to be fixed in the Lord. By constantly hearing the Lord's pure glories from those Bhakti Vedantas, he developed prema, which destroys rajas and tamas. Srila Prabhupada says that the flow of devotional service is like the flow of a river. As the river flows on till she reaches the sea, similarly, pure devotional service flows by the association of pure devotees till it reaches the ultimate goal, that is transcendental love of God. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Very nice summary, very nicely captured. So you can see that in the previous class, we had discussed from the life of Narad Muni, how Narad Muni, simply coming in the association of pure devotees, simply serving him with faith, with a lot of respect, uh, and hearing Krishna Katha from these pure souls, he could purify himself within that life. And specifically, when we studied this small story of Narad Muni, we discussed the 14 stages of bhakti that we had studied in chapter number 2, which Suta Goswami had narrated to the sages of Naimisharanya. And the same stages of bhakti were seen in the life of Narad Muni. So we studied that part also in the previous class. So Narad Muni is now explaining Vyasdev through philosophical explanations that why he should glorify the Supreme Lord Krishna directly, although he has done a lot of good work by writing literature like Mahabharata and Vedanta Sutra, etc. But that is, in these literature, he has actually diluted the pure message of bhakti. He has mixed the pure message of bhakti with several other like karma yoga, dhyana yoga, etc., etc. So the general masses are a little bit confused. They don't really know what exactly is the essence. So he's instructing Vyasdev to do something, to do some create some literature or do something where he can unadulterated way, in a pure way, he could bring out the message of pure bhakti in front of people. And that is the background of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is a very, very important chapter for the student of Vedic knowledge, because everyone in this world, in this small lifetime, want to understand the essence. Although there are a lot of books in the Vedas, but they want to understand the essence. And this chapter, this fifth chapter, the dialogue between Vyasdev and Narad Muni actually is very, very important, in the sense that you know the background of Srimad Bhagavatam, why Bhagavatam was written. And you can see from the discussion, it is the pure message of bhakti. In order to propagate this pure message of bhakti of Lord Sri Krishna, Srila Vyasdev wrote this literature called Srimad Bhagavatam, and that was the last creation by Srila Vyasdev. After that, he had not written any other book. So that is the reason why Srimad Bhagavatam is a very, very important literature for those who are interested in spiritual life, to study, to by heart, to make the life and soul of one's life this particular book. And you can see in the previous classes we have discussed how Srimad Bhagavatam actually has been compared directly with the body of the Lord. So much importance is given, and this chapter very beautifully gives the background of all that. So we have covered till 28th verse, where Narad Muni is narrating the past life. So we will cover the remaining 29th, 30th and 31st verse today, and then we will probably go further to complete this to 32 to 40th verse. So 33 actually is a wrong number here. We will cover till the end of the verse. So 32nd to the 40th verse. Okay. Now in today's class, let me see whose turn is there. So last time we had discussed with Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, and then Vidya Mataji, and I think Manish Prabhu. Today we will give opportunity to Anand Prada Mataji,
Sure, Prabhuji.
Mangala
Thank you
Mataji, Mangala Mataji. Then we have Anuradha Mataji, and we will also give opportunity to, I think, Anuradha Mataji. Did you also recite it last time?
No, Prabhu, I didn't recite it
Okay.
last time.
So Anand Prada Mataji, Mangala Mataji, and then Anuradha Mataji, and then we will give it to Rakesh Prabhuji. So these four people we will invite today. Mangala Mataji, Anuradha Mataji, and Rakesh. So Anand Prada Mataji, would you like to start and recite what is written on the screen, the 29th verse?
Yes, Prabhuji. 29 to 31, sages bestow most confidential knowledge. Narada Muni's qualities. I was attached to the Bhakti Vedantas. I was obedient, freed from sins, faithful, self-controlled, inclined to serve, and I strictly followed them with body and mind.
Okay. Now, see, what we have done in the previous class, we have done a little study of Narad Muni's life. And in Narad Muni's life, we understood how practically every stage of bhakti was manifested in his life, and then ultimately it led to prema bhakti, in prema in the heart of Narad Muni. Now Narad Muni is giving you a hint how he was able to develop those qualities or those stages of bhakti, how he was able to achieve. And he's giving here a list of qualities which enabled him, or which actually led him to develop that Krishna Prem. So those qualities are, he's saying, I was attached to the Bhakti Vedantas. Attached to the Bhakti Vedantas would mean that he felt very much attracted towards them, very much he felt that kind of attraction towards these Bhakti Vedantas, which continued to inspire him in bhakti. Now, what actually attracts us to these people who are like advanced devotees of the Lord? Any idea do you have? Any answer you would like to give? What really attracts us to these people? Why do we get attracted to these advanced devotees? Any answer would you like to give?
The simplicity.
Simplicity. Okay. Any other?
In Hindi, we say saralta, saumyata.
Saralta, saumyata. Okay. Saralta, saumyata, simplicity. Okay.
They share the glories of the Lord. They tell the stories of the Lord.
Stories of the Lord. Okay.
Prabhuji, they are happy people, so we feel like they have positive energy.
Okay. Positive energy. Okay. Very good. Any other?
They follow all the
Merciful,
scriptures.
merciful.
They are like, they know all the Vedas. They are very
Okay.
well know the scriptures. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So all the answers are very good, but in general, I was actually eager to listen one particular word, and you may say that okay,
So more
that
advancement.
yeah, more advancement, but actually purity of their heart. Purity of their heart makes us attracted towards them. If you remember, Prabhupada used to say, books are the basis, and then utility is the principle, and then purity is the
Purity is
force.
the force.
Purity
Yes.
is the force. So purity is the force. Force means what? Purity is the force means that when we come in contact with an advanced devotee, the purity in their intention, purity of their character, purity of their life actually makes us attracted towards them. So this is, you can say, I was attached to the Bhakti Vedantas. And what makes us attached to these devotees, to advanced souls? Their purity. I was obedient. Obedient means he would follow the, he would like to take instruction from them and faithfully follow them. Then freed from sins. Freed from sins, he would not have any kind of bad habits and so on. Like we also in ISKCON would say that if you want to advance in bhakti, the first criteria is you should follow no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, like that, and no illicit sex. So these are the four pillars of sinful activities. So freed from sins, faithful. Faithful means what? What do you mean by faithful? What would you mean by faithful?
You're asking faithful, Prabhuji?
Faithful, yes, yes, Mataji. What do you mean by faithful? Narad Muni is saying, I was faithful to them. What does it mean?
Sincerity.
Yeah.
Sincerity.
Can you elaborate a little bit? Sincerity is
That is,
okay, but
he had complete faith in the words of Bhakti Vedanta,
yeah,
and
yeah,
with
faith.
sincerity he followed their instructions.
Yeah, yeah, faithful in the words of Bhakti Vedanta. So the devotees are saying something. So he had faith. He had faith that what they are saying is, I agree with them. I actually have faith. I don't doubt them. I don't criticize them, but I accept it. I accept it. That is something which is called as faith. And then, like for example, we are sitting in a class, and our the speaker or an advanced devotee is saying that if you do like this, you will advance. So somebody who is not very faithful may doubt. Probably it is too much. Doesn't actually mean it. He's simply trying to make a show out of it and so on. But some people who have faith in the words would accept it. Self-controlled. Self-controlled is control on the senses. Inclined to serve. Inclined to serve. Huh? And then I strictly followed them with body and mind. So following with body means using our body, our gross body, to serve, maybe do some service to the devotees. And serving by mind, following by mind means what? Following by mind means maybe uh, having faith in their words, uh, uh, obeying their instructions and so on. So that is something like strictly followed them with body and mind. So that is what Narad Muni's qualities are there. We can understand and learn from these qualities for our own spiritual advancement. So these are the secrets. These are the secrets. And Prabhupada in the purport gives some emphasis on some of the qualities. So Mataji, can you read this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Qualities for success in this lifetime only. A neophyte devotee must faithfully serve the pure devotee, and he should be very obedient and strictly follow the instructions. These are the signs of a devotee who is determined to achieve success even in the existing tradition of life.
So the important word is even in the existing duration of life. So if we are interested in becoming successful in our spiritual journey, even in one lifetime, then these are the secrets. Must faithfully serve. He should be very much obedient. strictly follow the instructions. 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, 4 regulative principles, offering food to the Lord, doing some deity worship, maybe doing a little bit of preaching work, doing some service to the pure devotees. These are some of the activities, if we include them in our life and do them obediently, nicely, Prabhupada is saying qualities for success in this lifetime only. So, very important words, very inspiring also. Okay. We move to the next one. Mataji, the 30th verse, can you read?
Taught most confidential knowledge. The sages were kind to the fallen, Dina Vatsalaha, as they were born to depart. They mercifully instructed me in the most confidential knowledge, Jnanam Guhyatamam, of pure bhakti, taught by the Lord Himself, Sakshat Bhagavato Ditam.
Very nice. Okay. So now, after the Chaturmas period was over, the sages were leaving the place where Narad Muni used to live with his mother. And before departing, before leaving that place, the sages were very, very kind. Deen Vatsala. Deen Vatsala would mean that they would not differentiate between whether he's from a son of a maid servant or uh, coming from a very less educated background and so on. So they were Deen Vatsala, very kind to Narad Muni. And out of their kindness, when they were about to depart, they instructed me in the most confidential knowledge. Jnanam Guhyatamam. So we have various levels of confidential knowledge. Guhya Gyan, confidential. Guhyatar Gyan is more confidential, and Guhyatamam actually is the most confidential. And what is that most confidential knowledge? The most confidential knowledge was about the pure bhakti. And he's saying, Narad Muni is now telling to Vyasdev that it was that Gyan actually was taught by Lord Himself. Sakshat Bhagavato Ditam. Now, these are some of the words that I'm picking up from the Sanskrit given in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Jnanam Guhyatamam, and then Sakshat Bhagavato Ditam. Bhagavato Ditam means spoken by the Lord. Bhagwan Dwara Pratipadit. Bhagwan Dwara established. So, that is in the 30th verse. So, let us see what is meant by confidential, more confidential, and most confidential knowledge. Mataji, can you read from here?
Jnana means ordinary knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to knowledge of Paramatma, all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential. But when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjuna, Uddhava, etc.
Yes. So you can see here, there are various levels of knowledge mentioned. So Jnanam, plain and simple, it means knowledge. And that's what Prabhupada starts to write from here. Jnanam means ordinary knowledge. Ordinary knowledge, like maybe knowledge of simple, simple like physics, chemistry, something like that. Huh? And then this knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. So impersonal Brahman, ultimately by exploring, for example, scientists are exploring various things. And if they continue to explore some of these things in nature, maybe in one point of time, they might get some hint of this knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. So further advancement. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, now we are going further. Above this, somebody had impersonal knowledge of Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to knowledge of Paramatma, the all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential. So we have confidential knowledge and more confidential knowledge. But when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. So most confidential knowledge is pure devotional service. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by Lord to Brahma, Arjuna, and Uddhava, etc. So this is the same knowledge which Narad Muni is now mentioning here in this verse, Jnanam Guhyatamam, of pure bhakti. That is what the Bhakti Vedantas, before they left Narad Muni's house, they imparted that knowledge to Narad Muni. Okay. Now we will recite this verse. Mataji, can you help me? I will
Narada
recite.
Muni qualities.
Yeah, I will repeat. I will recite it, and please repeat after me. Yainavaham bhagavato
Yenevaham bhagavato
vasudevasya vedhasaha
vasudevasya vedasaha
mayanubhavam avidam
mayanubhavam avidam
yena gachanti tatpadam.
tena gachanti tatpadam.
Okay. Can you read this line, the red one?
By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of the Lord Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything.
Okay. Now, yene vaham bhagavato vasudevasya vedasaha. Vasudevasya vedasa. Vasudevasya actually referring to Lord Krishna. Maya anubhavam avidam. Maya anubhavam avidam. Avidam means easily, clearly. Maya anubhavam. Maya actually is here referring to the energy of the Lord. Energy, Maya. Maya anubhavam avidam. So easily I could understand what are the energies of the Lord Shri Krishna, who is actually the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. Yene vaham bhagavato. And how he could understand? By that confidential knowledge. Now, which confidential knowledge? That confidential knowledge which the Bhakti Vedantas bestowed upon Narad Muni before they left. So before they left, because of that confidential knowledge, I could clearly understand the influence of the energy of Lord Krishna. So what are the energies of the Lord? Can anyone remember? Can anyone tell me what are the three energies of the Lord? So I'm giving you a hint. Anyone can remember? What are the three energies of the Lord? Energies is a very important subject. Now we are talking about something more technical and philosophical, but important. We need to understand.
Ahladini
What is
Shakti,
it?
Maya
Ahladini,
Shakti,
Tatastha.
Ahladini Shakti,
Okay,
and
Ahladini,
Tatastha,
Ahladini, Tatastha. Okay, what else?
and Maya.
And Maya. Okay, and Jivan Prabhu, you are also mentioning something.
Same thing, Prabhu, same thing. Ahladini, Tatastha, and Maya.
Ahladini, Tatastha, and Maya. Okay. Some other devotee may want to answer anything on this? What are the various Shaktis of the Lord, energies of the Lord? Those who are studying in our Ishopanishad class should, I'm giving another hint.
Tatastha energy.
Okay.
The marginal.
Okay. Tatastha is marginal. What are other two?
Internal and external.
Internal and external. So what do you call internal? What do you call internal?
Antaranga
Shakti.
Antaranga Shakti. Antaranga. And what do you call the external?
Bahiranga.
Okay, Bahiranga. In these three energies, what is the Antaranga Shakti? What is the specific quality of Antaranga Shakti?
Radharani.
Okay, Radharani, spiritual. So all the expansions of the Lord, the spiritual world, they actually come under the category of Antaranga Shakti. So it is very, very potent. It's spiritually very potent, very strong. And then Tatastha. What do you mean by Tatastha? Marginal?
The Jiva.
Jiva. So why it is
Jiva.
called as Tatastha? Why it is called as Tatastha?
They can slip it to the thing. They are they can just turn it to the other energy. They are as long as they follow the Lord and then they are considered themselves a part and parcel. there is a possibility for them to be covered by Maya, and then they can fall into that thing. So that is why it is called marginal.
Yeah, so they are oscillatory. They are oscillatory. They are oscillatory. They have the choice. They can actually turn towards the Lord, or they can actually go towards the Maya. They can turn away from the Lord. So that is why they are known as Tatastha. Tatastha means on the bank. So on the bank, the speciality of the bank is one side is the land and another side is the water. So neither it is fully water, nor it is fully land. So that is why it is known as Tatastha. So it is spiritual energy, but it is weaker than the Antaranga Shakti. Antaranga is purely spiritual, but Tatastha is also spiritual, but it has a weak potency. It has the strength is weak compared to the Antaranga. And the third one is Bahiranga.
The external potency.
Bahiranga Shakti. And what are the speciality of Bahiranga Shakti?
That is the material world, Maya, Prabhuji.
Material world, Jad Jagat, dead matter, whatever material world we see around us, that is actually in the category of Bahiranga Shakti. Okay. Now in the second line, Mataji, can you read here the second bullet?
By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him.
Yena gachanti tat padam. So once you understand the difference between the Antaranga, Tatastha and Bahiranga Shaktis, then you know how to behave in this world, how to conduct yourself in this life. And then if you know properly how to conduct in this life, one can return to him and personally meet him. Yena gachanti tat padam. Padam means lotus feet. Yena gachanti tat padam. So by knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him. So let us see the energies of the Lord. Okay, Mataji, can you read from here?
By devotional service or by the most confidential knowledge, one can understand very easily how the different energies of the Lord are working. One part of his energy is manifesting the material world. The other, superior part of his energy is manifesting the spiritual world. And his intermediate energy is manifesting the living entities who are serving either of the above mentioned energies.
Yes, so they are given three energies. One part of his energy is manifesting in the material world. What do we call this? What do we call this? One part of the energy manifesting. Bahiranga Shakti. Prakriti, that is correct. Prakriti and Bahiranga Shakti. So in the technical word is Bahiranga Shakti, external energy. The other superior part of his energy is manifesting in the spiritual world. And this is what? What do we call this?
Divine energy.
Antaranga.
Antaranga Shakti or divine energy, what Shibanji is mentioning. And his intermediate energy. Intermediate means in between. Is manifesting the living entities. So Jiva Shakti, who are serving either the above mentioned energies. Above mentioned means either they are serving the Maya Shakti or they are serving the Antaranga Shakti. So they may actually turn towards Maya or turn towards the Lord. But the important line here is what? By devotional service or by the most confidential knowledge, one can understand very easily how the different energies of the Lord are working. How the different energies of the Lord are working. So by that confidential knowledge, which Narad Muni got from the Bhaktivedantas, or now you are also getting through these Srimad Bhagavatam study, Bhagavad Gita study and other books, you are also trying to understand what are these three different energies, Maya Shakti, and then Antaranga Shakti and Tatastha Shakti. You are also trying to gain knowledge about them. So once you know how these work, we conduct our life in a proper way, in a proper direction, and then we can actually come out from this material existence. Jiva Goswami has given a very beautiful analogy to compare these three Shaktis. So can you explain that analogy? That is analogy, I'll give you a hint. That analogy involves sun, Surya. So do you remember how Jiva Goswami has described these Antaranga, Tatastha and Bahiranga using the analogy of sun?
Bhagwan, Paramatma and Brahman?
No. Very sun. We need to involve sun here.
Sun means
Surya.
sun, just and sun, the
Sun,
core of
sun,
the sun.
sun globe, and
Sun,
plant.
sun globe, sun rays. Then third one.
Reflected sun.
Sun does.
Sorry, Shiban Prabhu, what did you say?
Reflected sun rays.
Reflected sun rays. Reflections. Reflection of the sun. Reflection of the sun. So the Antaranga Shakti is compared to what?
The sun itself.
The sun
The
itself.
globe.
The surface of the sun. The surface of the sun. So on the surface of the sun, what is the intensity of light and heat?
Very great.
Very great. Very too much. It is very big. Enormous intensity of light and heat. So Antaranga Shakti is like that. So if the Lord becomes merciful on some devotee, because of his Antaranga Shakti, everything becomes very clear immediately. He spiritually is very much enlightened immediately. That is Antaranga Shakti. And what is the Tatastha Shakti in terms of sun? The sun rays, right? So sun rays are the sun rays as powerful as the sun disk?
No.
No.
The cloud.
So they are less powerful. So that is why the Jeev Shakti is like Tatastha Shakti or sun rays. And then the Jad Jagat or the Maya Shakti is what? The material world. And that is compared to the reflection of sun. Reflection can't give you any heat. Reflection can't give you any light. It is simply a reflection, isn't it? So it is that is what Jeev Goswami has explained the Antaranga, Tatastha and Bahiranga Shaktis. So are these Shaktis same as the Lord or different as the Lord, different from the Lord?
They are different than the Lord.
But they are not same?
They are from the same origin, but physically they are different.
Yeah. So because their origin is same, so we can consider that these are same as the Lord. Like I used to give an example, Prabhupada used to give an example of audio recording. Say if a person has an audio recording, the audio recording is same as that person only. Prabhupada's audio recordings are still available, and if you hear those audio recordings, you will get the same experience of hearing Prabhupada, which used to be there maybe several years ago. But they are different also because you cannot experience Prabhupada's presence. You cannot interact with that audio recording to get experience of Prabhupada. So they are same as well as different. So that is known as Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva. Simultaneously oneness and difference. Anyway, we'll not elaborate a lot, otherwise we'll lose on time. Okay, now I'll invite Mangala Mataji. Mangala Mataji, 32nd verse.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Etat samsuchitam brahmans.
Etam samsuchitam brahman.
Tapatraya chikitsitam.
Tapatraya chikitsitam.
Yadishware Bhagavati.
Yadishware Bhagavati.
Karma Brahmani Bhavitam.
Karma Brahmani Bhavitam.
Very nice. Okay. Etat samsuchitam brahmams. Learned men have concluded samsuchitam, O Brahmana. So, O Brahmana, Brahmams is here referring to Vyasdev. Etat samsuchitam. So the learned men have concluded. What they have concluded? Tapatraya chikitsitam. Tapatraya. What is tapatraya? Tapatraya means the three miseries.
The three miseries. Adhi-Bhautik and Adhyatmik.
Okay. Rupali Mataji, you were also mentioning. What were you saying?
Adi-Devik, Adi-Bhautik and Adhyatmik.
Okay. So what is, let me ask you, what is Adi-Bhautik?
Adi-Bhautik is like some other jiva is like a mosquito is biting me, like that. Adhyatmik
okay.
My mind or my body.
Mataji, wait. So Adi-Bhautik means misery due to other living entities.
Yes, Prabhuji.
It could be a mosquito, it could be your boss, it could be your husband, could be your wife, could be your father, could be your mother, could be your prime minister, whatever. So Adi-Bhautik means misery due to other living entities. And what was the second one? Adi-Devik, can you explain? Adi-Devik.
earthquake comes or something like that, natural disaster like pandemic came.
Okay. So the miseries due to natural calamities, tsunami, earthquake, COVID, pandemic, etc., etc. And what is adhyatmic?
Like I fall ill, I have some mental depression or upset, I get anxiety or I get guilt.
Mental, because of our own mind. Because of our own mind, that is known as adhyatmic. So this is what is known as, what are these three known as together? Tapatraya. So where did we hear this word elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam?
The first sloka, Prabhuji. No, second sloka.
Second sloka. Can you mention that? Okay. Where? Second sloka is dharma. Paramatsaro nirmatsaranam. Vedyam vastavamatra vastu. Tapatrayo unmulanam. Tapatrayo unmulanam. So Srimad Bhagavatam in the second verse itself mentioned it is about unmulanam of tapatraya. So here in 5th chapter again Bhagavatam is reconfirming itself. Tapatraya chikitsitam. So what is chikitsa? What do you mean by chikitsa?
Cure it.
Cure it. So best treatment. So etat samsuchitam brahmams, O Brahmana, learned men have concluded best treatment for all type of miseries is that. What is that? Yad Ishvare Bhagavati Karma Brahmani Bhavitam. Yad Ishvare Bhagavati Karma Brahmani Bhavitam. Surrender all your activities for Lord's service. Now we have moved to the next section. So Srila Narad Muni has now stopped describing his past life. He has ended that discussion with the 3 verses in the previous section where he mentioned that the sages left with giving him the confidential knowledge, most confidential knowledge. But now Narad Muni is developing another topic from verse number 32 to 36, and this topic is about the process of Karma Yoga. The process of Karma Yoga. So the process of Karma Yoga is being discussed by Narad Muni, and it is being mentioned here. Yad Ishvare Bhagavati Karma Brahmani Bhavitam. Best treatment for all type of miseries is that surrender all your activities for the Lord's service. Ultimately, what Narad Muni is telling to Vyasdev is that if you do activities, but do these activities for the purpose of the Lord, as a service to the Lord, then what these activities can do? What is the benefit of these activities? Tapatraya chikitsitam. Tapatraya chikitsitam. Now let us see from the purport what are the examples of the dedication of one service to the Lord. Mangala Mataji, can you read the first one?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Practical examples to dedicate one's service to the Lord. 1. Scholars, scientists, philosophers. One should employ his learning to establish the supremacy of the Lord. 2nd. Administrator, statesman, warrior, politician. Establish the Lord's supremacy in statesmanship. 3rd. Businessman, industrialist, agriculturalist. One should spend his hard-earned money for the cause of the Lord.
Okay, just wait before we move to the next one. Now, in this verse, what is being mentioned? Surrender all your activities for Lord's service, and what it can do? It can do tapatraya chikitsitam. So, how do you surrender your activities in the Lord's service? So, we have different roles. Somebody is a scientist, somebody is an administrator, politician, or an army person. Or in the society, we also find business people, industrialists, agriculturalists. There are different people. What do you mean by surrendering one's activity to the Lord? So Prabhupada ji in the purport of verse number 32 gives some practical hints how one can surrender one's activity towards Lord service. So here example is if somebody is a scholar or a scientist or a philosopher, what this person can do? One should employ his learning to establish the supremacy of the Lord. So the scientists are very learned people, very respectable people. They are sometimes called in various forums on TV interviews. They write articles in magazines. They are great people. They are very respectful people in the society. So they can utilize their such goodwill in the society that they enjoy to establish the supremacy of the Lord. So they can themselves do some worship of the Lord, or they should favorable towards the Lord cause, favorable towards the Lord message. That kind of behavior, if they show, that is one way they can dedicate one service to the Lord. Then another category is administrators, warriors, statesmen, politicians. They can establish the Lord's supremacy in statesmanship. Now, if you see in the past, I would draw your attention towards, for example, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So if you try to read life of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, it was he was a very dharmic king. Dharmic king means he would rule the king considering himself as the representative of the Lord. And according to the guidance from the Brahmanas, according to the guidance from the scriptures, he would actually make the rule the kingdom. So that is how a statesman and a politician can establish the rule or rule the kingdom. Then businessmen, agriculturalists, industrialists, they can actually share some of their hard-earned money for the cause of the Lord. So that is how, like you see here, Brahmanas class, intellectual class, administrative class, and the Vaishya class. So three examples from various class in the society, how one can dedicate one service to the Lord. Now the second one, Mataji, can you read this?
Best form of karma yoga is bhakti yoga. The best thing is, after all, to get relief from all material activities and engage oneself completely in hearing the transcendental pastimes of Lord. But in case of the absence of such an opportunity, one should try to engage in the service of the Lord, everything for which one has specific attraction, and that is the way of peace and prosperity.
Correct. Very nice. So now you see here, there is a contrast. This is all from Prabhupada's purport. So you see the first two lines and the last three lines. First two lines are actually telling you the best thing is, after all, to get relief from the material activities and engage oneself completely in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So this is hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, like directly hearing Krishna Katha. This is pure bhakti. This is pure bhakti. But we are living in this world every time 24/7. We cannot hear the pastimes of the Lord. I mean, we would like to do that, but we have to do some other work also. We have to go to office also. We have to take care of our children also. We have so many other activities. So what Prabhupada is saying, but in case of absence of such an opportunity, not everyone will have such a huge attraction towards hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So in the absence of such an opportunity, one should try to engage in the service of the Lord, everything for which one has a specific attraction. So in the Karma Yoga stage, what happens is that the practitioner has attraction towards the activity he is doing. For example, a teacher will have attraction towards teaching. So if the teacher has attraction towards teaching, he cannot leave teaching. He cannot separate himself from teaching. Then what he can do is he can utilize his teaching skills to glorify the Lord. So everything for which one has a specific attraction, and that is the way of peace and prosperity. But the best activity is that we directly hear directly engage ourselves in the pure bhakti activities. And pure bhakti activities, where did we learn? Where did we learn pure bhakti activities in the past in our classes? Can anyone mention to me? Can remind me what were the pure bhakti activities?
Bhakti Rasanat Sindhu.
NOD, very good. So, and how many of them? How many of them?
65.
64.
64. Among those 64, which are the most important one? Which 5 are the most important one?
The first 4, Prabhuji. First 4.
First 4 or last 5? In the
Last
list?
5.
Last 5 in the list. Does anyone remember the last 5 in the list? Dhamvas, living in, okay. Chanting, okay.
Following the instructions of Guru.
Okay.
Deity worship.
What?
Sorry?
I forgot to.
Association of devotees.
Yes, that's yes.
Association of devotees, Nam Sankirtan, Mathura Vas, Dham Vas, Association of devotees, and then what? Bhagavatam Shravan.
Yes.
Fourth one is Bhagavat Shravan. Which one is the fifth
worship.
one?
Deity worship.
Deity worship, Archa Vigra, Archa Seva. Okay, maybe I have to check on that, but I maybe for the timing I agree with Mataji. Deity worship. Okay. Anyway, those five are there. So please kindly remember those ones also, which we have studied in the previous classes. So these are the pure bhakti activities. But if we are not doing pure bhakti activities, we try to engage those activities in the Lord's service in some way or the other. That is the message. Okay. Now there are analogies given. So Mataji, can you read this?
Example: how karma can destroy bondage. A thing when applied therapeutically cures a disease which was caused by the very same thing. Similarly, activities, karma, that ordinarily cause perpetual bondage, when dedicated to the Lord's service, destroy the trees of work.
Okay. A thing when applied therapeutically cures a disease which was caused by the very same thing. I'll give you an example here to make that point understand. Similarly, activities that ordinarily cause perpetual bondage, when dedicated to the Lord's service, destroy the tree of work. So what do you mean by the word karma? What is the meaning of the word karma?
Karma.
The karma is okay. One explanation is karma is some activity, but there is another meaning of word karma: reaction.
Yeah.
Karma. So when we reaction. When we do some activity, there is a reaction to it. If we do good karma, we get a good reaction. We get good karma phala. If we do bad activity or a sinful activity, we get a bad karma phala.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So when we do some karma, when we do some activity, we get some reaction. But if we do that activity for the purpose of the Lord, then the same activity actually free us from the bondage also. So that is the message, and that message has been explained with the help of an analogy. And here the analogy is given is the milk preparation and curd. Mataji, can you read this?
Yes. Milk preparation sometimes cause disorder of the bowel, but the very same milk converted into curd and mixed with some other remedial ingredients cures such disorders. Similarly, the threefold miseries of material existence cannot be mitigated simply by material activities. Such activities have to be spiritualized.
Very nice. Okay. Now, sometimes we eat rasmalai, sometimes we eat a lot of rasgullas, gulab jamuns, etc., and our stomach get upset. And we go to some Ayurvedic doctor. The Ayurvedic doctor, do you know how does the Ayurvedic doctor treat it? He gives another milk product, curd, mixed with some herbs, mixed with some medicines, and the Ayurvedic doctor says that you take this curd and your disease will be cured. So our disease came from where? Our disease came from a milk product. But the same milk product in a different form actually cured our disease only. Similarly, if we do material activities, we get bonded. We get karma phala. We continue to remain in this cycle of birth and death. But if those activities are directed toward the service of the Lord, the same activity if that activity is spiritualized, then that spiritual activity can actually liberate us from that bondage also. So this point has been explained very nicely with the help of an analogy. Another analogy is given for this purport. Mataji, can you read?
Analogy of red hot iron. Just as by fire, iron is made red hot, and thereby the action of fire begins. Similarly, the material conception of a thing is that at once change as soon as it is put into the service of the Lord.
Yes. So you see this iron, and when if you have an iron piece of metal and you heat that iron, the iron becomes very hot. And if you heat it at a very high temperature, actually iron becomes same as fire only. If you touch this iron to some place, the place will get burned. So the iron becomes fire. Iron gets changed into fire. So that is what Prabhupada is giving this analogy, that we are having any material things. For example, if I have a knife, I can or somebody can use this knife for bringing some harm to the people, somebody. But the same knife can be used in the Lord's kitchen also to cook prasad for devotees. So the same knife, when used for harming others, is doing some material activities which will cause bondage. But the same knife, when used for some other activity, for some useful activity, for some devotional activity, can actually liberate us also. So that is the second analogy Prabhupada is giving. So it does not depend upon whether uh, uh, how the thing is used. That is most important here. What that thing is, that does not matter much. You can use iron in the service of the Lord, or you can use iron to create something bad or some unpeaceful activity in the society also. Yeah. Yes.
Neither reject nor enjoy. Employ in Lord's service. We should not try to lord it. We should not try to lord it over the material nature, nor should we reject the material things. The best way to make the best use of a bad bargain is to use everything in relation with the supreme spiritual being.
Yeah, we should not try to lord it over the material nature. So the person who try to lord it over material nature is known as what, in what do you call such a person? This is like a materialistic person, karmi, a materialistic person who wants to enjoy the material nature. Nor should we reject material things. And what is the name of this person, the class of person who rejects material things? What do you call them? Who reject material things?
Devotee?
No, devotee.
Sannyasi.
Brahman.
Sorry,
Sannyasi.
Brahman, sannyasi.
Jnani,
Okay, what
Brahman.
Jnani.
Yeah.
So who said Jnani? I think Vrindavaneshwari Mataji.
No, Prabhuji, I did not.
Okay, so that was, I think, Anand Prada Mataji.
No, Prabhuji, I did not say.
So who said Jnani? Who mentioned Jnani?
Myself, Prabhuji.
Yes, Jayamala Mataji. Okay. So nor should we reject material things. So you have heard this phrase, Brahma Satya
I
Jagat
said
Mithya?
Brahman, Guruji.
No, Brahman has several meanings. So Brahman.
Ji.
But
Jnani
we are
comes
talking,
into Brahman. Ji.
yeah. So Jnani is the
Right.
category of person. So Jnani says that I don't want anything matter. I reject the society. I simply want to focus on the Brahman aspect. I simply want to focus on the spiritual. Material is not good. Material is useless. And this person is saying, the karmi is saying that I want to enjoy matter. So there are two categories. So enjoy matter is something completely gone away from the target. And this Jnani is somewhat, he's actually attracted to the spiritual, but he's rejecting the material. But the third category is the best way to make the best way to make the best use of bad bargain is to use everything in the relation with the supreme spiritual being. And which category is this? The third one. Who is this third category?
Yukta Vairagi.
Yukta Vairagi. What do you call Yukta Vairagi in simple terms?
Like he uses everything. He doesn't reject the material things or material.
But what do you call that
He
person?
uses everything.
So this person is a karmi, a devotee. Correct? A devotee, a bhakta. So bhakta does not reject material things. He says, he sees that material thing as the energy of the Lord. It has come from the Lord. It belongs to the Lord. So he utilizes that service. He utilizes that thing towards the service of the Lord. So that is the three categories. Neither reject nor enjoy. So one who rejects is known as jnani, one who enjoys is known as karmi, but one who employs something in Lord's service is known as a bhakta. Employ in Lord's service. So that is the principle of bhakti. How to realize that the Lord is everywhere? Mataji, can you read this one?
Yes. How to realize that the Lord is everywhere? When everything is thus employed in the service of the Lord, we can experience that there is nothing except the Supreme Brahman. The Vedic mantra that everything is Brahman is thus realized by us.
Is thus realized by. So everything is Brahman actually. You can utilize computer in Lord service, you can utilize your house in Lord service, you can utilize your anything that you see material around you, you can utilize everything in Lord service. So when you can utilize everything in Lord service, then what the realization is? Actually, everything belongs to the Lord. Everything is Brahman. Everything is spiritual. That's the realization. And then ultimately you start to think, oh, the Lord is everywhere. Everywhere there is an opportunity to serve the Lord. How to realize that Lord is everywhere? You start to see everything around you in connection with the Lord. And if you start to do like that, you start to realize that Lord is everywhere. Okay. Now we move to the 34th verse. Mataji, can you read this? Work in devotion to pure
devotion. Engage oneself in loving service. Receive mercy of great souls. Neophytes acquire qualities of pure devotee. Increase in taste for hearing. Will understand difference between body and soul. Will understand eternal relationship between soul and super soul.
Devotion will
grow gradually to full knowledge of the Lord.
Yeah, so there are stages. Prabhupada is giving in the purport that if you are working in devotion means it is not a pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means these activities are not in the list of those 64 items that we have studied in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But they are some normal worldly activities, but those worldly activities we have been doing in devotional devotional temperament, with devotional mood. Then if we do like this, then gradually we move towards pure devotion, because this section is actually about karma yoga. So in karma yoga, what happens is we do our duties. We do our duty as a father, we do our duty as a employee, we do our duty as a as a father, as a maybe as a mother, as a husband, as a wife, something like that. So we have various duties. But if we do those duties in a devotional mood means thinking about the Lord, then what happens? So the whole process is given here. So once we engage in the loving service, then what happens? We receive the mercy of the great souls. So if we are doing these activities for some Mahatma, some Sadhu, we receive the mercy. When we receive the mercy, what happens? We acquire qualities of that pure devotee. When we acquire that quality, our taste increases. Taste for what? Taste for hearing, Shravan Kirtan. Then once our taste increases, we understand the difference between body and soul. Slowly and slowly we become purified, and we start to understand these concepts very well, body and soul, and we'll understand eternal relationship between soul and super soul. We further develop this knowledge that I am Atma, the Lord is super soul, Lord is Paramatma, and ultimately devotion will grow gradually to the full knowledge of the Lord. So that's what I was saying in the previous slide. You can see here. Best form of karma yoga is bhakti yoga, but karma yoga is something like an initial stage of bhakti yoga, where we start to work in a devotional mood, and gradually and slowly the devotional mood actually finally culminates into a pure love of God. Okay, now we invite Anuradha Mataji. Mataji, are you there?
Yes, Prabhu, I'm there.
Okay. Yat atra kriyate karma.
Atra kriyate karma.
Bhagavat paritoshanam.
Bhagavat paritoshanam.
Jnanam yat tad adhinam hi.
Jnanam yat tad adhinam hi.
Bhakti yoga samanvitam.
Bhakti yoga samanvitam.
Yeah. So in this verse, Narad Muni is saying that if you do this, if you do like this, if you work for Lord's satisfaction, work in devotion, if you devotionally be inclined and work for the Lord, ultimately the Gyan will come to you. So Gyan is something which comes together with Bhakti. You don't necessarily have to make a separate endeavor for Gyan. So here, Yad Atra Kriyate Karma, Yadatra Kriyate Karma, whatever work is done here in this life, Bhagavat Paritoshanam, for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord. Bhagavat Paritoshanam, Jnanam Yat Tad Adhinam Hi, Adhina, Adhin means dependent. Dependent on whatever you are doing with Bhakti, Bhagavat Paritoshanam. Great generates Jnana. Generates Jnana means spiritual knowledge. And Bhakti Yoga Samanvitam. And this Jnana is not like impersonal Jnana. This Gyan is not something like that. The absolute truth is impersonal. It is Brahma Jyoti. It is white light. It is pervading everywhere. No, that is not the kind of Gyan. The kind of Gyan that you will generate will be endowed with bhakti. It will full of bhakti. So this is what Narad Muni is saying, that if you do it like this, if you do some work, but work devotionally towards the Lord for the satisfaction of the Lord, then the knowledge, spiritual knowledge, will automatically come to you. And this knowledge will not be impersonal knowledge. This knowledge will be endowed with bhakti. Bhakti yoga samanvitam. That's what Narad Muni is saying. Okay. Yes, Mataji, please read this.
Yes, Prabhu. Work in devotion leads to spiritual knowledge. When work is performed, therefore, to satisfy the Lord, the performer becomes gradually purified from the material affection. This purification means attainment of spiritual knowledge. Therefore, knowledge is dependent on karma or work done on behalf of the Lord.
Yes, very important point. When work is performed, therefore, to satisfy the Lord, the performer becomes gradually purified from the material affection. So, Prabhupada is saying, what happens when we do Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga, when we do any activity, but at the back of our mind, the intention or the consciousness is that I have to satisfy the Lord. I don't have to cheat the Lord. I have to work this so that the Lord is pleased. If that is the intention of our work, then it leads to purification. What is the purification? What kind of what do you mean by purification in spiritual life? Can anyone explain what happens when purification happens?
The Shad Vikaras go away.
Very nice. Shad Vikaras. What are the Shad Vikaras?
Lakpi.
Kama, Krodha, Moh, Matsarya.
So we have a short form for it. We call it lagpai. Lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy.
Yeah.
So lagpai. So the lagpai goes away, or lagpai reduces. Intensity of the lagpai reduces. This purification means attainment of spiritual knowledge. And when the lagpai goes down, what happens? Is spiritual knowledge manifest in our heart. Therefore, knowledge is dependent on karma or work done on behalf of the Lord. So this is the formula for Karma Yoga. The other day we were discussing between how to balance between occupational duties and devotional activities. So Jamala Mataji would remember it. So occupational duties and devotional activities. So this is occupational duties. When we do our occupational duties, keeping Lord in the center, then we get purified. And with that purification, actually, ultimately, we get spiritual knowledge. Okay. Can you read this similar concept in 1.5.12?
Yes. Similar concept in 1.5.12. Other knowledge, being devoid of satisfaction of the Lord, cannot lead one back to the kingdom of God. As already explained in connection with the stanza, Naishkarmayam, Api Achyuta Bhava
Varjitam. Naishkarmyam apya achyuta bhava varjitam. Naishkarmyam. So what do you remember we discussed this topic, Naishkarmya?
Yeah.
What was the meaning of word Naishkarmya?
Like the doership goes away.
Akarma. Akarma. What do you mean by akarma? Those activities which
which are done
perform
on
for the
the
pleasure of the Lord.
service to the Lord.
Okay, to the Lord. Okay, but here it is Achyuta Bhava Varjitam. Achyuta Bhava Varjitam means it is describing some activities which are actually does not having Achyuta Bhava. So what kind of activities? What kind of akarma is this? Akarma means those activities which do not lead to any
physical gain, any bhautik gain.
Karma phala.
Karma phala. Who said that?
Me, Prabhuji Rupali.
Are Vah Mataji, you are Pandita now. Very nice.
Thank you.
That akarma means those activities which does not lead to any reaction, any karma phala. And certainly those activities which we are doing to the Lord are certainly neshkarmya, but here neshkarmya actually has been mentioned towards those activities which are done for the purpose of transcendence, but not for the Lord. So that means it is meant for liberation, mukti. So neshkarmyam apya achyuta bhava varjitam. So if somebody is doing neshkarmya, doing some activities for impersonal liberation without any connection with the Lord, then it is other knowledge being devoid of satisfaction cannot lead back to one kingdom, to the kingdom of God. That is what the meaning is. If you do some activities without keeping Lord in the center, it will not take you to the kingdom of the Lord, which was same concept being discussed in the previous classes in verse number 12, 5th chapter.
Mean Prabhuji, ये जो नैष्कर्म्यम, the apya api achyuta bhava varjitam, मतलब person is doing nashkarmyam but he's not doing for Krishna. Is that what you're trying?
Right. So nashkarmya could be done for impersonal liberation. Nashkarmya could also be done for some yoga, say for Paramatma, for going to Vaikuntha, for higher planets, spiritual planets. But it is being mentioned Nashkarmyam api achyuta bhava varjitam, which is varjitam of achyuta bhava.
Yes, yes.
So Nashkarmya means activity done for transcendence. Transcendence means going out from the material world. But going out from the material world also has various levels. You can go to Brahman, you can go to Paramatma, you can go to Goloka. So if you are trying to do activity for neshkarmya or for going to the transcendence, but not for the achyuta bhava, then it will not lead you to the kingdom of God. Okay, 36th Mataji. Kurvanya yatra karmani.
Kurvanya yatra karmani.
Sorry, kurvana yatra karmani.
Kurvana yatra karmani.
Bhagavad Chikshayaksharat.
Bhagavad Chikshaya
Bhagavad Chikshayakshakrata.
Bhagavad Chikshaya Sakrata.
Grananti guna namani.
Grananti guna namani.
Krishnasya anusmaranti cha.
Krishnasya anusmaranti cha. While performing duties according to the order of the Lord Krishna, one constantly remembers him, his names and his qualities.
Yeah. Now, what Narad Muni is saying is that if you continue to do your activities like that, while performing duties according to the order of Lord Krishna, if you continue to do like that, then ultimately one fine day one constantly remembers him, his names and his qualities. Automatically remembers Lord's names and qualities. So you will continue to grow, you will advance. That's what Narad Muni is saying. So we will go to the 37th verse. Now, Narad Muni is teaching some personal mantra to Vyasdev. So far, what Narad Muni has done? Narad Muni has given a discourse to Vyasdev on the importance of glorification of the Supreme Lord Krishna, direct glorification, without any mixing, without any adulteration. He has given lot of concepts. He has told him his own story. He has given a lot of philosophical examples. He has given a lot of philosophical verses to explain Narad Muni, to explain Vyasdev, why direct glorification of Lord is the need of the hour. Is the need of the hour. That's what he has mentioned. Now he understands that Vyasdev has understood the concept. And now he's giving, after developing a proper mindset to Vyasdev, in Vyasdev, Narad Muni now gives some mantras to Vyasdev. And these are two shlokas, 37 and 38. These are some personal mantra which Narad Muni had learned. He's transferring that mantra to Vyasdev. So we will recite this. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam.
Vasudevaya Dhimahi.
Vasudevaya Dhimahi.
Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya.
Pradyumnaya Nirudhyaya.
Nama Shankarshanaya Cha.
Nama Sankarshanaya Cha.
Let us all chant the, yes, Mataji, please read.
Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva along with his planetary expansions, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshana.
Yeah, so we will not go into the lot of details about these things. We probably will read about Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshana in our later classes. But let us read the 30th one. Iti murtya abhidhanena.
Iti murti abhinyanena.
Mantramurtim amurtikam.
Mantramurtim amurtikam.
Yajate yagya purusham.
Yajate yagna purusham.
Sa samyak darshana puman.
Sa samyak darshana puman. Thus is actually seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who has no material form.
Thus, he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound. Mantra murtim amurtikam. Amurtikam means that Supreme Lord Vishnu, who has no material form. Amurtikam means no murti, no form, and no form actually means no material form. Amurtikam. And mantra murtim means he is worshipped in the form of transcendental sound, in the form of a mantra. Mantra murtim. Iti murtya abhidhanena. Mantra murtim amurtikam. Yajate yagya purusham. Yagya purusham is referred to Lord Vishnu. Yajate means worship. Sa samyak darshana puman. He is the actual seer who worships in that way. Now we have few one purport point. Yes, please read.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Relevance of mantras. The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or transcendental sound representation. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord.
Yeah. So here, relevance of mantras. So why do we chant mantras? What is the relevance, importance of mantras? Because here just now Narad Muni is giving two mantras to Vyasdev. So here Prabhupada ji is writing here in the purport, what is the importance of mantras? Why should we do it? The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge. Eternal bliss and knowledge means what? Sat Chit Anand. The transcendental form. Transcendental form means it is a spiritual form. The spiritual form of Sat Chit Anand can be experienced by our original spiritual senses. Original spiritual senses. Now we are in this body. So the way we are interacting with the material world, or the way we are interacting with the outside world, is through our gross senses. Gross senses means eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and then skin, and like that. But here Prabhupada is writing that if we want to understand Sat Chid Anand, the spiritual form of the Lord, then we can experience it by what? By our spiritual senses. Spiritual senses means from where these spiritual senses are coming? At the level of soul. The soul has senses. The soul has eyes, ears, etc., etc., and that is pure spiritual senses. Through that power of soul, only we are able to see through our material senses, which can be revived. These original spiritual senses can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or transcendental sound representation. So that is what the relevance of the mantras. when we chant mantras, it acts on our soul. It acts on the soul, and it actually revives our spiritual consciousness. It revives. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master. Now you can clearly understand that if you have not received the mantra from your guru, the mantra will not have any effect. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master. So when the bona fide spiritual master gives you a sound, gives you a mantra, and you chant that mantra after receiving it from the guru, then the mantra has an effect. Without that, the mantra does not have that effect. And the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. And by this practice, we gradually come nearer to the Lord. So that is the relevance of the mantras. Okay, now we invite Rakesh ji, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Imam Swanigamam Brahman.
Imam Swanigamam Brahman.
Avetya Mad Anushtitam.
Avetya Mad Anushtitam.
Adan me Jnanam Aishwaryam.
Adan me Jnanam Aishwaryam.
Swasim Bhavam Cha Keshavaha.
Swasmin Bhavam Cha Keshavaha.
Yeah. So, O Brahman, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord. So, after giving two mantras to Vyasdev, Narad Muni is now sharing the personal experience. He's saying, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. So, personal experience means after doing all this, uh, serving the Bhakti Vedantas, and then associating with them, hearing from them Krishna Gatha, getting that confidential knowledge, all that what he did gave him some personal experience, means some benefit. And what were those benefits? I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord. Imam Swa Nigamam Brahman Avetya Mad Anushtitam. Transcendental knowledge of the Lord. Transcendental knowledge means who is Lord Krishna, how does he look like, why is known as Supreme Personality of Godhead. All that knowledge about Lord he received. He understood it. And then Adan me Jnanam Aishwaryam. Then with the spiritual opulences. So not only the knowledge of the Lord, he also got some spiritual opulences. What were these opulences? These are known as siddhis. Siddhis means Narad Muni has got a siddhi that he can actually go anywhere. If he wants to go to Patal Lok, he can go to Patal Lok. If he wants to go to the abode of the Lord, he can go to abode of the Lord. He can have face-to-face conversation with the Lord. If he wants to come to the Earth planet, he can come to the Earth planet also. Like that, he is known as transcendental spaceman. So he has this spiritual opulences like siddhis. And then what? And then with his intimate loving service. So he also can intimately serve the Lord. Intimately serving the Lord means personally serve the Lord. Like we may serve directly or we may serve indirectly. But Narad Muni has the capability or has the benediction from the Lord that he can intimately serve the Lord. Okay. Prabhu, please read this.
Process of realizing the Lord. Number 1, offense less chanting. Result, understands the purport of the Vedic literature. Number 2, unflinching faith in the Lord and the spiritual master. Result, Lord gradually give his realization.
Yeah, so this was a long purport by Prabhupada, and I just broke it up into two important points. So the two important processes for realizing the Lord is, one is offenseless chanting, and the second one is unflinching faith in the Lord and the spiritual master. These two together actually can lead us to the realization of the Lord. Okay. The second one.
Other benefits. After this, the devotee is endowed with mystic opulences, which are 8 in number. And above all, the devotee is accepted in the confidential entourage of the Lord and is entrusted with specific service of the Lord through the agency of the spiritual master.
Yeah. So this is the first benefit. First benefit means realization of the Lord. How we can do it? by chanting offenselessly and by having faith in the Lord and Master, spiritual Master. That is the first. But the other benefits we can also get. One is we can get mystic opulences, which is known as siddhis. There are ashta siddhis, 8 siddhis in number total. And then ultimately, devotee is accepted in the confidential entourage. Confidential entourage means he becomes his parshad. Parshad means his associate. Personally, is in the Lord's group, in Lord's team, and is entrusted with a specific service of the Lord through the agency of the spiritual master. Okay, the last verse for today, conclusion. Now, Tvamapya adbhra shruta vishrutam vibho. Prabhuji, are you reciting? Rakesh Prabhu, you are muted.
Tvam apya adabra shruta vishrutam vibho.
Samapyet yen vidam bubhutsitam.
Samapyet yena vidam bubhusitam.
Prakyahi dukkhair muhur arditatmanam.
Prakyahi dukkhair muhur arditatmanam.
Sanklesha nirvanam ushanti nanyatha.
Sankalesha nirvanam usanti nanyatha.
Yeah. Please therefore describe the Almighty Lord's activities, for that will satisfy the hankerings of the great learned men and mitigate the miseries of the masses who are suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. So he is making a concluding statement, Narad Muni. He's saying that when you describe the Almighty Lord's activities, then two class of people are going to get benefited. First class of people is, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men. So people who are already advanced, who are already learned, they also have some hankering. They also want to do some practice so that their heart feel nourished, satisfied. So those who are advanced, they will feel satisfied. But what was the second class? Prakhyai dukkhair muhur arditatmanam. Mitigate the miseries of the masses who are suffering from material pangs. So there is the second category. Second category is general people who are not really advanced, but who are always 24/7 are tossed up and down in the hands of material nature. So mitigate the miseries of the masses who are suffering from material pangs. Now the great souls will chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare attentively. Nicely they will chant. For those who are normal people or general people, they will chant. When they chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they probably will doze off. They probably will not be able to concentrate. So Srimad Bhagavatam is a book which will satisfy the hankering of the great learned men and mitigate the miseries of the general people who are suffering from material pain. Indeed, Sanklesha Nirvanam Ushanti Na Anyatha. Na Anyatha means there is no other way to get out of this miseries. Ushanti. There is no other way to get out. Indeed. So that is what the concluding remark of Narad Muni. And Prabhupada end the purport with a very profound statement. Please, Prabhu, can you read this?
Bhagavatam is for the sincere seeker. Srimad Bhagavatam is therefore not meant for any particular class of man or sect. It is for the sincere soul who actually wants his own welfare and peace of mind.
Yes, so Bhagavatam is not for any particular class, that you are advanced class or you are low class or you are middle class or whatever class. It is not something meant for a particular class. It is meant for a sincere soul, whichever class he may belong to. And if the sincere soul wants his own welfare and peace of mind, for that sincere soul, for that sincere person, Srimad Bhagavatam is there. So now you can see, we conclude here. We can see here how in this chapter, a very important chapter, how Narad Muni is instructing Vyasdev on compiling Srimad Bhagavatam. And the reasons he is giving is that although you have done some very nice work, but that has been all over the place. I think you have done great work, but you have adulterated it with a lot of other philosophies, activities, and so on. Indirectly, you have confused people. Indirectly, you have given the impression to the people that you can do all kind of material activities in the name of religion, and that will advance them. So you are giving some false hopes to them. That is the reason why you are not very satisfied. So now, my dear disciple, what you should do is you should glorify the Lord in a unadulterated way, in a pure way, in a direct way, and that will give you satisfaction. That will also be the most beneficial thing you can do for the people of this world. So you can see the background of Srimad Bhagavatam, the history of Bhagavatam is grounded in the very fact that pure devotional service is actually the main purpose of life, or is the topmost goal for any individual who's trying to practice a spiritual life. So with that, we conclude the class. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. We can have some questions. Prabhuji, for service in the next class, who is doing Mangalacharan and who is doing the summary? Can you mention? Can you tell me?
Prabhuji, Mangalacharan will be by Mangala Mataji and class summary by Vasudevan Prabhuji.
Okay, Vasudevan Prabhu is not in the class today. I will mention to him. Okay. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Can you send the notice? Delay, no problem. Please send me the notice. I will forward it to them.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions, any comments, any takeaways? Thank you.
Prabhuji, you earlier the Shatvikar, the short form. Can you please tell one more time the last line?
Lag pi, Lag, lust, anger, greed, and pi. Pi means PIE, pride, illusion, envy.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Because we mentioned this a lot of times, so we have made a short form, so it is easy to remember. Lag pi, lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you liberate?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Can you explain the liberation is for liberation from life and recycle of life? Were you explaining that?
Yeah. So Mataji, for liberation. Yeah. So what in the context in which I was explaining the word liberation from life is through the process of Karma Yoga in the class, where Karma Yoga actually means when we do our activities in general, if we keep in our consciousness the Lord always, then whatever work we do, it will become yoga. It will purify us. And when it will purify us, our lag pi, lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy will come down. Slowly and gradually, we will start to realize spiritual knowledge. And what is that spiritual knowledge? That spiritual knowledge is that I am not this body. I am not meant for enjoying this material world. I am not meant for enjoying this material world. Enjoying this material world means all this money, fame, name, although this gives me some pleasure, but this is not actually giving me ultimate pleasure. That realization starts to come to our mind. That is called spiritual knowledge. With this spiritual realization, we start to look for happiness other than these material things. We start to look for happiness. Okay, let me help somebody. Let me do some good to some other person. Let me do some more paropkar. Let me do all these activities. So from selfish, we start to become selfless. From sakam to we become nishkam. Slowly and gradually, we start to realize that actually I don't belong to this place. Actually, I'm a spiritual being who belongs to some spiritual realm. And that's why it starts to practice those activities which will take him from material realm to spiritual realm. And when at this level, he's actually now becoming a transcendentalist. He's now becoming a person who is now hoping to move from this material existence to another eternal existence, which is spiritual in nature. Now here he's talking about liberation, mukti. That is the place. That is the stage where mukti becomes a little in picture. It comes in picture, and then from mukti, slowly and gradually, he starts to come to the level of bhakti. Oh, in mukti, above mukti also, I need to do bhakti, and when I do bhakti, I will go to the spiritual abode of the Lord. That is the process. That's how it works.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now we have any other question? Any other?
Are we placing Nishkam Karma and Nash Karma on the same platform?
Nishkam karma is not Nash karma. Nishkam karma yoga is Nash karma.
Oh.
Nishkam karma yoga is Nash karma. Nishkam karma is at the level of punya.
No, you were mentioning about like abandoning the fruits of the reaction. So I got confused. So
no, like Nishkam, see, at the level of Nishkam karma, you are still getting purified. When you do punya karmas, when you do good activities for the welfare of others, you still get purification. You still get purification. With that purification, it leads to knowledge. It leads to realization that I am spiritual.
Yes.
And when I get this realization, I am spiritual, then I should do those activities which will actually take me to the spiritual realm. Now, when you do with this intention, when you do this Nishkam karma with the intention that I will actually satisfy that spiritual realm, I will move closer to that spiritual realm. So here Nishkam karma yoga means doing Nishkam karma with the intention of transcendence. Transcendence, you understand transcendence. What is the meaning of word transcendence?
Divya, divine.
No. Transcendence means crossing over.
Yeah, attaining the divinity.
No, crossing over. Crossing over from where to where?
From material to spiritual.
Yes, that is called transcendence. Transcendence means you are at the moment in material, you want to transcend. You want to cross over to the spiritual.
Yes.
And the activities we do for this are known as transcendental activities.
Oh.
The activities which will help us to transcend from material to spiritual are known as transcendental activities.
Yes.
Because you hear these words transcendental again and again, you start to think it looks very sophisticated, it looks very nice to speak, but what does it actually mean? It means those activities which lead you from one location to the another, from material to spiritual.
Okay.
So Nishkam karma is at the level of material. You will get punya, you will continue to, but you will continue to exist in the cycle of birth and death. But Nishkam
punya
karma
and
yoga.
Nishkam, yes. So Nishkam karma yoga, you're saying, Prabhuji, is not karma. Is Nash karma.
Is Nash karma. And this Nishkam karma yoga, when you do for the Lord, is known as bhakti.
Okay. So these are the terminologies like Sakam karma, Nishkam karma, karma yoga, and bhakti. These are the stages then?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So Sakam karma yoga actually is also one term. Sakam karma yoga means you do some karma with some fruitive activities, but you offer the result to the Lord. That is also good.
Yeah.
That is better than Nishkam karma. Because it is taking you towards transcendence. So transcendence is higher than the material existence in the hierarchy of things. Okay.
Right. Now I understand. Like there it is mentioned, Artha, Artharthi, Jnani. So all these are Sakam activities. But if they are done for the purpose of transcendental, then they become karma yoga.
They are also dear to the Lord, because they are coming to the Lord maybe for Sakam motive, maybe for materialistic motive, but still they are coming.
Dhruva Maharaj.
Yeah, like Dhruv Maharaj. Yeah, like Dhruv Maharaj. Very good example. Dhruv Maharaj went to the Lord for kingdom.
Yes,
so if you read Dhruv Maharaj's story, it should give you a lot of satisfaction. We are also in that category. At least I am. Say, do something for some benefit, but at least do for the Lord. So keep the Lord in the center. So Dhruv Maharaj's story is very, very informative, instructive in that sense. It actually tells us the common mentality of people in the world. But ultimately, when Dhruv Maharaj got the darshan of the Lord, he thought that what nonsense I was trying to do. I should have aspired for a higher goal rather than for the kingdom of my father. I should have aspired for the kingdom of the God.
And this topic is quite, very, very deep. वो ठीक बोला गया है ना, गहना कर्म.
Gehena karmano, yeah. The intricacies of karma are very, very complicated.
Very complicated.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. Thank you very much. Any other comment, question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Very nice class. Many things were repeated and we got the benefit of your explanations over and over again.
Thank you, Prabhu. I hope that continue to revise it, and not only revise it, but
yes, yes.
make it a little more stronger in our understanding. Because
yes,
we keep on forgetting. We keep on forgetting.
Yes. It's a learning, continuous process, active
continuous process. Correct. So every time we get another coating of this same thing, our understanding becomes a little more deeper. We are now getting that same understanding from the context of Narad Muni and Vyasdev discussion.
Quite right. Yes.
Right.
Really enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay. In the next class, before the next class, I will try to issue the quiz, and because if I will try to prepare a quiz, I may not get the time to prepare for class. But I don't want to miss the class. So recently an idea came to me that we do something which does not require my effort in preparing the class, but we still may have the class. So I was thinking maybe we start reading some interesting book, some chapter from a book, like the way we are doing our classes. We are reading it. We are having a small discussion. We are continuing to read it, having a small discussion. So that will engage us. And I was thinking of doing something with Prabhupada Leela Amrit. So if you buy into that idea, maybe we can utilize the next class for that purpose.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay.
So how do you plan to carry out Leela Amrit?
We will open the Veda Base website, and there Prabhupada Leela Amrit is there. We will start to read maybe some chapter, maybe chapter number 1 from Leela Amrit. Okay. And maybe we will read one paragraph, and then maybe we can have some short discussion on some important point, like that.
Okay. So it will be done on Sunday only, within this time only.
Same time, because I will like to prepare the quiz, prepare the questions, so that the following Sunday we will do the quiz, and you get enough time for thinking about the questions, writing about the answers, and so on. So you get enough time. But for that, I need some time, and then next Sunday we can utilize to do this Leela Amrit reading. Okay. Similar thing I'm planning in Hindi class, but in Hindi class I'm taking a different book known as Jaiva Dharma by Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
Jaiva Dharma.
Yeah. Okay. So we will read one chapter of Jaiva Dharma in Hindi class and Prabhupada Leela Amrit in the English class in the coming week. Okay.
So when is your Hindi class? On Wednesday, no?
Wednesday, Mataji. Yeah.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
It's the best, again, best of best class. Very interesting, very nice. Thanks to all, Guruji.
Okay, thank you.
My dear Guruji, there is one comment or request. All this we need is Sadguru. Now, either you want, I can take half the class, or you can guide us the meaning of Sadguru, qualities of Sadguru, who is Sadguru, and what he does. I offer my services if you will allow me.
Okay.
Or you are the best, if you can.
Okay, let me think about it, Guruji. I will personally discuss with you, and we can decide about it. Okay.
Because once we know who is Sadguru, most of our problems will be solved.
Yeah. So we are reading Prabhupada.
Sadguru.
Yeah. So we are actually we are reading Prabhupada Leela Amrit, whom we consider as a Sadguru or Jagat Guru also.
He is Sadguru. He
Yeah.
was Sadguru. He is Sadguru. He is now invisible Sadguru.
Yeah.
He is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. So there is no confusion in it.
Okay.
Until unless we accept that, we will not understand any of your teachings.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have to basically
Yeah.
accept that our base is
okay.
the
So
Guruji, the biggest.
Yeah, for the next class, I would say let us keep it Prabhupada Leelamrit only, and maybe if you can send me some write up so that I can go through it and then maybe decide whether we can discuss that matter or not, or write up, or maybe some slides or whatever you want to say. Maybe we can take it separately.
Well, Guruji, to be honest, I don't have any write ups. I learned from you and all that, but this I happened to listen from some, and then I went on looking for it from last 1 month. So I could reach to a little bit sense about Sadguru.
Yeah, no, Prabhuji, that is fine. But see, in when we are talking about speaking in a forum, we have very, I would say,
to have some background. Yes.
Yeah, some not only background, but philosophically, we need to have some strict standards on which we present these philosophical things. So many times
I will try to write. I will try to write in a very small notes, and I'll send to you for your approval.
Yeah, because many of those things are actually people define in a different way, which as Vaishnav Sampradaya, Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya, we may not accept it. We may not accept it. So because I have not heard about what you are going to speak, or from which resource you have picked up that matter. So I have I'm not very sure whether we should be sharing that.
I get your point. I got your point.
Okay.
I will try to give you the source. I'll try to give you
okay, Prabhuji.
Whatever little from where I, which source I learned and.
Prabhuji.
But anyway,
with this
is a request.
Regarding
if you can take this.
In that, I want to ask that why Gyan Yoga is taught after Bhakti Yoga.
Okay, I will tell you that question is by
that I asked long many times before to Guruji. Why the Bhakti Yoga is
I will separate. This is Rupali Rana Mataji, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, मैं आपको separate call करता हूँ उसके लिए. I will explain it to you. Okay, Kartar Prabhuji, I got your point. Kindly share with me the write-up or some bullet points so that we can know what it is. Okay.
Ji Guruji.
Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Prabhupada. All glories to my
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.